Welcome back to the LionHeart podcast, where we learn that the heart of a lion in this jungle we call life. Back at it again, another episode. I don't know what episode we're on, but we're on somewhere in the 20s, I believe. But if you're a returning listener, I appreciate you for coming back, tuning back into this. This is a podcast all about learning to become the best version of yourself, right? So me as a young man coming up through everything entrepreneurship and everything that I'm doing, then my goal is with this is to take everything that I learn and be able to push it out to you guys, right? So that you guys are able to take from what I've been able to learn from and insert it into your own life. So, and if this is your first time listening, then I appreciate you for tuning in. You're not gonna regret it, like I just explained about right now. But yeah, make sure you check out all the previous podcasts that I've done before too, because like I said, this is basically a whole journey. I've had this going on for about 2 years now, and I've been very inconsistent with it, if I'm being honest, but it is what it is. I don't want to put out content if I don't have anything to speak about. That's kind of where I'm at. So anyways, I have a little bit of notes right now just so I don't get too far off a topic, but I think the name of this one's going to be Detach Yourself from the Results. So say it again, detach yourself from the results. Then the reason is because I heard about this earlier today. I forgot who it was from, but I saw it off a video on YouTube explaining about all this. But it kind of just made me want to be able to put my 2 cents in and elaborate on it a little bit more too. Because I've understood myself how important this is when you're trying to succeed in anything, whatever it is that you're trying to work on in life. So detach yourself from the results. Right, we know if you're into the self-improvement space, then you've heard plenty of times that you need to make goals, you need to have stuff set, you need to have things that you're working towards. I've said that plenty of times over on my social media platform and also on the podcast itself. I've said that over and over again. But with that being said, one thing that I don't think I've elaborated on before, which I think is very important because I've catch myself doing this a lot too, but I noticed that it hinders a lot of what you're trying to do if you had this kind of mindset. And that's attaching yourself to results instead of attaching yourself to the daily grind that needs to be put into whatever you're working towards. So let me explain it a little bit. So first of all, like I said, I have a little bit of notes so I don't stray too off, and I just wanted to make sure I hit specific points. So first of all, success isn't linear. Right? Meaning that just because you do the same thing every single day doesn't mean that you're going to get the same result every single day. Everything compounds over time because the more you work on one thing, let's say that you're, for example, because it's the easiest example, you're working out, right? This is your first time in the gym. Then when you first go into the gym, you're not going to know what you're doing at all, right? Unless you have a trainer and stuff like that. But even then, you're going to have somebody showing you what to do. You're going to have to look at videos. You're going to have to look at tutorials. Like, you're not going to know what you're doing much. So you're starting off. You're going to start off with a little bit of progress, right? But as you get more inclined to understanding the machines in the gym and understanding weights and understanding the different ways that you need to angle yourself and how to build that mind-muscle connection, the more that you start doing all this, then the more you're going to be able to progress in the gym and be able to get stronger and be able to lift heavier weights and build more muscle. But it takes time, it compounds, because once you do know what you're doing, it's a lot easier to be able to keep putting on all the muscle and to keep going when you understand the diet that you need to have. You understand the amount of tension you need to put your muscles under. When you start developing that mind to muscle connection, so you know exactly what you're working out depending on the movement. So that's why I say it compounds. Same thing with business, right? Just because you put in a whole bunch of work right now that you've seen on YouTube and everything, it takes time, right? It compounds because when you are putting that initial work in, a lot of it is learning phases. You have to learn a lot of things within the work that you're putting in, but the more that you learn, the more that curve goes up. So it's not linear. It's not, I'm going to do this right now and this is going to happen every single time. It's not like that. Life will never be like that. It takes time. It's not linear. But that's why when it happens, it rains. When it rains, it pours, right? Because when it does start taking off and you have enough of that compound interest built up, then everything's going to start taking off and it's going to seem like everything blew up out of place. And that's when they say some people are like one-hit wonders all of a sudden. Like all of a sudden they came up out of nowhere, overnight success, or that's the word I was looking for, overnight success. But most likely they were putting in a lot of work that nobody saw up before that, but it just all compounded into having that success that just blew up out of nowhere. So, with that being said, You got to realize success isn't linear. Everything compounds. So just because nothing's happening right now doesn't mean that it's not compounding into the future. So you got to take that in consideration. So another thing, going hand in hand with that, with detaching yourself from the results, right? Focus on the daily grind. That's it. You can't control the results, right? Like I said, if you do something, most things in life are, if I do this, then this is going to happen right after. Most things in life are not like that, right? You can focus you can control the input that you put in, but you can't control the output, right? There could be months that you're working into something and you're pushing your input, but nothing's coming out until later when that compound breaks and all of a sudden everything starts coming out, right? So you can't control the output. So that means you need to stop trying to control the output. Oh, I'm a failure, man. I did this for a whole week straight and nothing happened, right? I'm trying to grow on my social media. I posted for a whole week and I didn't get anything, no growth. You can't have that mindset. You can control the input, meaning control the input, right? Put in whatever you need to put in. You can't control the output. The output is out of your control, right? Whenever the time comes for there to be a high output of whatever you're putting in, it's going to happen, right? But before anything happens, usually at the beginning, people give up because of this. You can't control the output. So stop worrying so much about the output. Stop worrying so much about the results, but worry about what the work that you put in daily, right? If you need to do something, I'm trying to think of an example. Let's say you're starting a service business or something, and you know that you need to have a lot of input, right? Meaning you need to reach out to a lot of people, cold calling, cold emailing, cold DMing, whatever it is. You can't control the output of what's going to happen. But what you can do is set a number or set a certain amount of hours that you're going to do every single day where this is all for outreach. I'm going to outreach. I'm going to outreach. I'm going to outreach. You can't control what's going to come out the other side. You can't control the results, but you can control the amount of work that you put in. So that should be your focus. Your focus should be on the input. Your focus should not be, oh, what's the results going to be? Oh, I'm a failure because it didn't happen how I thought it was supposed to happen. That can't be your mentality. Control what you can control. Control the input and the output will come. But that's all you can do. Stop focusing so much on the results. So with that being said, also going hand in hand with that, you got to constantly live beyond your edge, right? Everybody has a comfort zone. So everybody has that comfort zone where they know if I do this every single day and I stick with this, then I'll be perfectly fine. Everybody has a comfort zone, which they know certain habits, certain daily routines that they know if they stick within that comfort zone, they'll be perfectly fine. They're not going to be hurt. They're not going to stray off because they're staying within that comfort zone. But most likely, you know the little edges. There's times where you have the edges of your comfort zone. If you really want to be successful in whatever it is that you're pushing towards, then the most important thing is living right beyond that edge. Right beyond the edge of your comfort zone, pushing it little by little as you keep growing more and more out of your comfort zone. But don't go extreme either with this. This doesn't mean that, let's say, for example, you wake up at 10, 11 every single day and you're like, oh, I got to jump out of my comfort zone. I'm going to wake up at 2 in the morning. It ain't going to happen, right? You're jumping way too far outside of it. You got to live in your edge. Right, so let's say you want to push it back an hour. Okay, I'm going to wake up at 9 from now on. I'm going to do that. And then you could progressively just keep getting better and better and adding up every single day. The point is that was a very simple example, but the point is you need to live right on the edge of your comfort zone all the time. This is the way that growth happens. Like I said, you don't want to throw yourself off the edge of a cliff because that's never going to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Sustainable. That's never going to be sustainable because you're not going to be able to do it forever because you're throwing yourself way too far. You got to live right beyond your comfort zone, live right on the edge of it. And little by little, as you keep living on the edge, it's just going to keep extending further because your comfort zone is just going to keep expanding. So with that being said, you're going to keep growing. So this is a very important part when it comes to this. This goes hand in hand with not focusing on the results. Stick on the edge of your comfort zone on the input that you're putting in. You know what you need to do at the end of the day. Everybody has different goals, aspirations. You know what you need to do. Most likely, you're just not doing it. That's what it comes down to. I know because this is exactly with me. I know what I need to do, but sometimes I just don't do it. And whose fault is that? Is mine. Because I'm not controlling, I'm not having the self-control, I'm not living beyond my edge, I'm trying to stick within a comfort zone, and that's why nothing happens. So you gotta live outside your comfort zone. And with that being said, when it comes to results and trying to focus on results and input and everything, like we spoke about before, what you can control is your input. That should be your focus. What is it that I can input in order to make this happen? The results I can't control. So the results are going to come on their own, but what can I input? And when it comes to input, I wrote this down. Remember that if you want unusual results, you can't have the usual routine like everyone with the usual results. Right? So if you want to be successful beyond the people that you're usually around, right? The usual results. If you want to have unusual results, exceptional results, then you got to realize you can't have the same routine as the usual people who have usual results, right? That means you're going to have to put in more work than them. That means you're going to have to probably throw away some stuff that you want to do when it comes to partying or when it comes to going and hanging out every single weekend, getting drunk, and then all of a sudden you have a hangover the next day. You got to control what you can control. If you don't want to have the usual results that the usual people have, that means you have to live an unusual life to get unusual results. It's simple as that. If you want exceptional results, if you want results that most people are not getting, that means you got to be willing to do what most people are not going to do. It's that simple. I've said this before plenty of times in the previous podcast. Life is simple. It's simple. You know what to do, right? You know exactly what you need to do. You know what habits you need to get rid of. You know exactly which path you need to go on. The problem is, it's not easy though. It's simple, but it's not easy. But life isn't meant to be easy. If life was easy, then everyone would be successful. Everyone would be a millionaire. Everyone would be living in a mansion. But we know that's not what it is. Why? Because life is simple. The steps are simple, but it's not easy. You got to be willing to put in the work that nobody else is willing to put in. When they're having their leisure time, when they're relaxing, when they're not doing anything, when they're wasting time, when they're wasting their weekends away, you got to be the one willing to put in the work. You got to put in more work than them. You got to be willing to live outside your comfort zone, unlike them. So I hope you get where I'm coming from. And the thing is, even though I'm talking to a camera, I'm talking to you guys, but I'm talking to myself too. Every single podcast, everything I say isn't just towards you guys, it's towards myself too. Because these are things, like I said, I'm taking everything that I learned and I'm trying to push it out to you guys so that you guys can insert this into your life. But at the same time, this is me, right? These are all the things that I have trouble with. These are all the things that I've struggled with in this past. These are the things I still struggle with now, right? I feel like everybody, even if somebody who has reached success tells you that they don't struggle with these things, they're lying, right? Everybody has to push beyond their boundaries. Everybody has to push beyond what they believe they can attain. And that comes with pushing your edge, your comfort zone. So with that being said, like I said before, you can't control the results. But what you can do is control the input. And if you put in enough work, then sooner or later there's going to be output. That means that there's going to be a return in results. But you can't attach yourself to the results. You can't think, man, I made all these calls, I did all this outreach, I went to the gym this many times, I did this, and I'm not seeing any results. If you attach your measure of success to your results, you're going to fail. It's simple as that. You're going to fail. It's good to have It's good to have goals and having results in your mind of what you want, but you can't attach yourself to it, because a lot of the times when it comes to attachment, you attach timelines. Oh, it needs to happen within this time. And most of the time, it's unrealistic. Man, I got to become a millionaire by next month. If it was that easy to become a millionaire, everybody would be a millionaire, right? And the reason I say this is because this is my thought process in the past, thinking that, shoot, I'm going to work hard for a month and all of a sudden I'm going to be rich. That's not how it works. It's not how it works. Unless you're like the luckiest person in the world, and that's not how it works. It comes with constant grind. It comes with constantly pushing over your edge. And one thing that I want to make sure that sticks with you through this episode is, if you want unusual results, you got to be willing to do unusual things. The things that are not usual to everybody else around you. You're going to have to give up things. You're going to have to give up friends. You're going to have to give up time. You're going to have to give up the things that you think that you need in your life. You're going to have to give up a lot in order to succeed and receive a lot. Actually, that's a good way to look at it, right? In order to get a lot in the future, you got to give up a lot now. But if you're not willing to give up anything right now, then you're not going to get anything in the future, right? It's a good way to look at it. I just thought about that at the top of my head. So remember that. Right? Don't attach yourself to the results. Have goals, have aspirations, have things that you're moving towards, but don't attach yourself to timelines. Don't attach yourself to the results thinking that if I don't get these results, I'm a failure, right? You need to focus on the input. Focus on improving the input. Like I gave you a few different examples. If it comes to going to the gym, working out, you don't know what you're doing, then level up the input that you're putting in. You might not see any results right now. That means that you're probably not doing something right? So look at your diet. Look at what you're eating. Look, are you eating enough calories? Are you eating too many calories if you're trying to lose weight? Right? You need to look at all these things, and so that you have a better input, so that better output can come about it. Right? If you're trying to start a business, you're doing outreach, but nobody's answering, then maybe you need to improve the outreach that you're doing so that you will get answers. Don't attach yourself to the results, but instead improve the input that you put into everything. I hope that makes sense. Right? Improve the input, the output will be better. But don't attach yourself to the output. Don't attach yourself to the results. So this was a little shorter than usual, but I hope everything made sense to what I was supposed to speak about. But like I said, if you want unusual results, then you need to be willing to do the unusual things that people are going to look down on you for. It's as simple as that. But as you get older, it gets to the point where you don't care what anybody else thinks anymore. Anybody can think whatever they want. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. If you're a young man listening to this, even if you're in school and stuff like that, it may seem like everything matters and what everybody thinks matters about you, but I'm telling you right now, it doesn't. You need to worry about how you think of yourself. And in my case, I'm a believer, how God thinks of me. Those are the two main things that I worry about. How does God think of me, and how do I think about myself? If nobody else matters, it really doesn't matter. I don't care what anybody else thinks about me. If they think I'm weird for what I do, it don't matter, right? Because I know what I'm going towards. I know what I'm trying to do, and my mentality is to build a relationship with God. I'm not trying to build a relationship with people, right? So with that being said, don't attach yourself to the results. Focus on the input, improve the input that you could put in, and boom, you'll get the better results in the future. So with that being said, I appreciate you guys for tuning in for another episode of the LionHeart podcast. I don't know what number we're on right now. I'll put in the title because I'll know when I'm editing this. But I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Like I said, if this is your first time listening, I appreciate it. Check out the previous ones. You'll be able to see the progression from the beginning. Even when I look at episode 1, when I go back and listen, I'm like, I sounded weird back then. You could tell that I didn't know what I was doing on the microphone. But yeah, anyways. And if you're listening, returning listener, I appreciate you for returning and listening. I have this out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. If you guys want it on any other platform, just let me know and I'll work on getting that out. But yeah, I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and I'm planning to get these out every week. I know I said that last time, and it's 2 weeks, so I'm a lot better than usual because usually it's been 4 months. But yeah, I'll see you guys next week. Appreciate it. Peace.